Hello everyone, I am Crawlers and this is probably the last episode of Ridiculous Loadout filmed in Battlefield 3. Now, I am going to continue this series into Battlefield 4, so, that's why I say it's the last episode of Battlefield 3. Now, by now you should know that this is a series where I whore myself out for cheap views, essentially running a loadout from one of the comments, and hopefully not making too much of an ass of myself in the process. Now, this time a fun loadout was suggested by an Alex Love 405 that includes an SV98, a suppressor, an IR&V scope, and no straight pull bolt. Now this is actually a very fun setup to throw around, and I already did a similar run with the M40 and the IR&V scope, but this one is a little more difficult, I think, in that the suppressor and no straight pull bolt. Okay, so I actually had a very cool run with this setup on Sand Crossing TTM, and unfortunately before I started recording, a very cool moment happened. Basically I was prone and scoped in on this hallway where a guy peered out, and immediately he was met with a headshot, and it happened so quick I didn't even have time to aim that well. And another guy peered out as soon as I had a chance to reload, and he got the good news right in the face. And then I witnessed a sight so beautiful you could only see it in the wild, Basically, it was a revive train, and if you've ever seen one, it's an incredible sight. A guy behind the wall came up and to the guys I just shot and revived them. I couldn't get a bead on the medic himself because he was behind the wall, but I kept both his Rambo revive victims, so to speak, as soon as they got revived. And well, then they rushed me, and I was actually able to put down 3 of them with the S-TAC and reload every time, because as I shot one of them, and the other guy apparently was a Bambi playing for Battlefield for the first time. The guy turned around in the confusion and revived him right under fire, so I had to re-kill him. I mean, what else am I supposed to do, right? Alright, so this was basically an awesome moment, and I very much hate that it wasn't recorded, but I think that's kind of why it happened, you see. My frame rate was a smooth 90 or so, and not 30 like when I'm recording. So gaming went much smoother, and aiming became much quicker and more precise. I have tried recording at 60 FPS, but my game, or is it my video card, started strangely skipping and dropping frames all over the place, so I went back to 30 FPS. Now YouTube videos are kept at 30 FPS anyway, so I render the final product at 30 FPS. Okay, now as for the actual kit that I'm using here, and it's actually a lot of fun. I'm going to go into specifics here. The SV98 is a bolt-action sniper rifle, obviously, and it does 80 damage at 20 meters, which drops off to 50 at 80 meters. So, therefore, a headshot kills at any distance. Now, the SV98 comes with a box mag of 10 rounds, plus 1 in the chamber, and takes 2.4 seconds to reload. with one in the chamber, and 4.8 seconds completely empty. Now it's also got the second fastest rate of fire among bolt actions sniper rifles at 48 RPM. Now, when I say among bolt action sniper rifles, it should be pretty obvious that I'm not including the semi-automatic or designated marksman rifles, as they will be called in Battlefield 4, which obviously have a lot higher rate of fire. So the SV-98's muzzle velocity is 520 meters a second, and this is stock muzzle velocity, and it's got a pretty good hip-fire accuracy, if not the best among bolt action sniper rifles. Okay, and let's consider now the other customization slots used on this kit. The suppressor, you see, the suppressor in Battlefield 3, it's a mixed bag at best. I mean, it will hide you on the minimap when shooting. It will also muffle the sound and decrease the vertical recoil a tiny bit of the gun that you are firing. But the bad thing is, the suppressor slows down the muzzle velocity quite a lot. And in this case, from a stock 520 meters a second, it decreases the muzzle velocity to a painfully slow 310 meters a second. Now, you might say, well, so what? It's a slow bullet, but it still kills. And, well, you'd be right. But it makes aiming much, much more difficult. Because, first of all, a slower bullet drops much, much more over distance, so it travels over much more of an arc, and therefore, your shots need to be recalculated a lot more. And this being a sniper, a bolt action rifle, each shot needs to be very precise. Also, because the bullet travels much slower, your target will move a lot more in the time that it takes the bullet to reach him, so you have to lead a lot more if you are shooting at a moving target. Now, usually when you put a suppressor on a weapon in Battlefield 3, what it will do is it will not decrease the weapon's damage, although it may seem that way. No, actually what will happen is it will move the weapon's natural damage drop-off much closer to you, basically shortening its effective radius, its effective range. And it will give you the impression that the weapon is doing less damage than the stock one. But this is actually not true, because, the weapon is still doing the same damage, it's just doing it over a shorter distance, a shorter radius. Now, this is true for all weapons in Battlefield 3, except the bolt-action sniper rifles. So, the SV-98 actually keeps its damage drop-off over distance. So, the problem then becomes only in bullet drop, which I already mentioned above. Also, the additional weight of the suppressor should be mentioned, as the suppressor sits on the end of your gun, so to speak. It increases slightly your hip-fire spread, obviously because of the weight of the suppressor. Now, as for the IR and V scope used in this kit, it's pretty fun, even after DICE nerfed it. But you see, because it's a scope and it's actually pretty big and heavy, you can hold your breath to stabilize it, just as you would a sniper scope. And this becomes actually very crucial in putting down ranged shots or semi-ranged shots. What with the increased bullet drop and and everything. You can still make those headers at a medium distance though, and they will be that much more satisfying. Now, one thing about this kit that was always it always kept me on my toes, at least, was the lack of the straight pull bolt, which meant I had to remember to zoom out after every shot from the scope to reload. You see, my brain was always telling me that I should, keep following the target with my scope, even if I missed the first shot. But in reality, I had to zoom out to, move the boat and chamber the next round. So that was pretty fun. So thanks for watching. Please rate, share this video, and check out my other videos at the end of this one. And remember, in Soviet Russia, YouTube subscribes you.